Hi everyone, and welcome to this episode of Screech Bob-Omb Commentaries. Once again, we're back here doing some of the Keyforge Online team event Top Cut. Callum, do you want to tell us who we have playing today?
Yeah, so we have a dramatic in-house Hamburg Atlanteans, casual game that they've just sort of extended to Keyforge Online team events. And here we have Hamburg Atlanteans 2 versus Hamburg Atlanteans 3. We have Kiivii from Hamburg Atlanteans 2 versus Mahaxx versus Hamburg Atlanteans 3. And we're going to start with Mahaxx from Hamburg Atlanteans 3 playing a tie deck, which Google Translate has given us several variations, but we've decided to call the villainous teacher Robinson, or Robinson for short.
I still like the
And
original It's a Bad Guy, says Robinson name, but here we are.
yes, that one was confusing, but who knows? The first thing that we want to talk about is the Curiosaurus. This is a Curiosaurus deck, and I think quite a good one.
Big fan. Yeah, so the Curiosaurus, as we've said in previous commentaries, very polarizing card, but I'm a big fan of it. Just kind of putting your opponent in a difficult situation where they're like, well, I can't kill the creatures because the Ember's going to come back to me. But then you've got the Luders in this deck to say, well, I can't. If he kills them, he's just going to he's going to make the Ember disappear completely. And you also sent a Brachus, which means that I can't just leave the Ember on those creatures because he's going to forge with it, just putting your opponent in a real tough spot to hard to find a solution.
Yeah, and there's going to be a lot of interesting Ember interaction with also the double Ludos and the Consul Primus, along with sort of many other things that will scatter one Ember on various creatures, right? So double Citizen Strix. There is an enhanced QMX with a capture. It's going to be going round and round and round.
And also just an Amphora Capturer,
And
which
so
just can capture you as much as you like, really.
Yep. Because there's 11 enhancements alongside with the pips already that are in the deck, and so you can be capturing a lot of Ember and then moving around with the Curiosaurus to hopefully get a lot of it back.
You can indeed.
And how are we going to get it back? We pretty much then go to the Dis, where you have a reasonably decent mass mutation Dis. I've seen more disgusting ones, but you've got a Mark to Dis, you've got two gateways, you've got a Gleeful Mayhem. You've got an essence scale to just take out things with one Ember on.
I think that's the big feature of this actually, is like the things like the gateway to Dis, the Gleeful Mayhem, and the S scales means that you can choose what to destroy and kind of how to kind of like put that Ember across. Like say you've got like a few creatures with one Ember on, and you just want to like pick them out. Gleeful Mayhem, you got that. If you want to just blow up the whole board and you've got tons of stuff with Ember on, you've got that. If you want to just hit one thing in a turn, you've got your essence scale, which is also going to get you additional benefit.
Yeah. And hey, if you want to enrage something, there's a Self Fiddle. Why not?
But you also got like say Mark of Dis just to kind of like make some awkward turns, along with just some nice creatures like Bonesaw, Brabble, Imp Spectre, and Furnace, all very useful. Sacrifiends.
Yeah,
Get a bit of Ember on, do a steal.
I'm not unhappy to see any of those in a mass mutation Dis lineup. I'm just like, yeah, these are all pretty solid.
Yeah. The logo's still good, but maybe like the kind of the weaker house of the three, which could be a problem when we look at the opponent's deck. We'll go through it right now. Effervescent Principle, always a welcome sight. Just if that opponent is getting a bit too much Ember, you've got that kind of like stop valve. Especially in this deck where you can be having Ember on creatures and using your center Brachus, you don't necessarily have to have too much Ember in your pool, making Effervescent Principle often much worse for your opponent than it is for you.
And especially with the Effervescent Principle, you hold it until after your opponent's had some sort of big Ember gain from the Curiosaurus shenanigans. And you're sort of like, oh, no. I'm just going to wipe all that off.
But the rest of
Double
it...
Lethal Logica.
Yeah. We think we said before, Lethal Logica, a card I'm not a fan of, but you're much more a fan of, Callum.
I am, and I think in pairs it's better because you just sort of cycle through the deck pretty quickly.
I just think like the problem in this is there's a lot of key cards like your Amphora Capturer, like your Curiosaurus, like your Brachus that you
It's a risk for sure. It would be a bold move to play a Lethal Logica if you say hadn't hit either the Amphora or the Curiosaurus. Double QMX, always pretty good, including the enhanced one. Stuff like a mutagenic serum is decent, but there's only 6 mutants, so it's not going to be the biggest thing in the world.
Most useful, I think, as well. Opposition Research, I think, dependent on the game, could be good, but I think it's actually a bit of a dark horse in this deck because this isn't the fastest deck. It's got 9.1 speed, 23 expect stamina, so it's no slouch, but you see much faster in this kind of top level of keyforce we don't need to commentate on. And this could be the kind of thing where if someone's got a very bored with this deck, this allows you to just kind of get more of the setup you need ready to just do those big Amphora Capture Curiosaurus plays, those Brachus plays, those Gateway plays.
Indeed. And then we have Academy Training, just to stick something in Logos. Give it Reap, draw a card.
If you control this creature, it belongs to House Logos instead of its original house. This creature gains Reap, draw a card. So not too many things you really want to switch their house in this, but it's just useful, say, for if you've got a disc creature already out, you can put it on that and then just reap with it.
Yeah. But a lot of them like have themes around the houses that fit pretty well.
Yeah.
All right, so shall we look at the other deck?
Yes, we have Odin E. Lagasivo.
Odin the Aggressive being played by Kiivii.
94 SAS.
94 SAS.
So what
pretty much
percentile?
100%.
This is in the 99.99th percentile of Keyforge decks.
Only 1 in 10,000 decks, apparently. And
I think that's a little bit under-egging it, to be honest. This might be like a 1 in a million deck almost.
Yeah, it's KOTE. There's the triple control of the week, which you obviously have to start with because, oh boy, that's going to be good.
Yeah, and I think we've said that we briefly mentioned this in one of our previous deck chats, but especially when both of these players have played each other a lot, they know each other's decks very well. You're going to know exactly when to be using this control of the week, what houses they're not going to be playing, at what points, and just kind of how to really like get the most out of this control of the week. And I think this could be very crucial in this game.
Yeah, especially as you have some stuff in the logos, such as the Help from Future Self and the Novo Archaeologist, to try and get those control of the weeks back, to either reshuffle the deck into the deck and discard.
Also, Phase Shift to play them out of house too. Could be.
Yeah, so you can imagine a situation where you phase shift a control of the week and then immediately archive it with the Archaeologist for additional brutality.
Very true. It's got some nice board plays. You've got a gateway to this and a key to this. Got Poltergeist, which could be very important, where you've got both the Curiosaurus and the Amphora Capture as such crucial artifacts.
So those artifacts might not last on the board in the way that Mahaxx might want them to.
They might not.
And then we have Quick Logos. It's got a play card. It's got a lot of pips on it. And then a Dysania, which could be potentially useful. Not the biggest archiving MM deck at all. But
Dysania, your opponent discards each of their archive cards. You get one for each other card. Yeah, I think the thing that get really good hit here is the QMEX, but you're never going to be mad about getting QMEX into a discard pile rather than keeping archiving every turn.
Yeah, it just will help you slow down your opponent's speed quite a bit. And then the Shadows is sort of some classic Ember fuckery Shadows.
Yeah. Bait and Switch obviously much more powerful in its pre-nerf forms, but still, still a couple Ember off someone, always useful. Key of Darkness, great card, always happy to see it in a deck. Big fan of Key of Darkness, right? Of course, I'm joking because Key of Darkness is a trash card.
Yes, for our long-running viewers, the context of his joke is that Key of Darkness is bad and should feel bad.
Yeah, it's just so Key of Darkness, you look at it, just to read it, it's a rare that you seem to see endlessly in KOTE. I don't know why, this seems to be the rare that you constantly got in Shadows. And it's Forge a Key at +6 current cost. If your opponent has no Ember, Forge a Key at +2 current cost instead. This is very bad.
Yeah, and the big thing is you've got the miasmas to stall the key to set up an interdimensional graft.
Yeah.
Which I think with the big Curiosaurus plays could be extra interesting. Because if you're able to do Curiosaurus things that give your opponent a lot of Ember, you're able to then graft them pretty hard in a way that might win you the game.
I think that's doable. I think with the gateway, it's there's potential to do that, but the problem is you don't have anything in logo specifically to do that. You'd have to have like the phase shift into some Curiosaurus shenanigans and then the graft. It's not the easiest thing to do, but I think there's a potential for it, and it would be a very good play if someone could pull it off.
Yeah. The creature control in Odin is interesting because you've got it's got 2 board wipes, it's got a pawn sacrifices and stuff. But if you're looking at a warded Saurian board, I can imagine it struggling.
Yeah, the poison wave could be crucial for that. Just being able to like knock off those wards before you're setting up for the gateway. But I do see what you mean. It is it is going to be a difficult one if we do get that like ancient power after a big capture. It's going to be a struggle for Odin to get rid of that.
So, who do you think is going to win?
I've always got to say the Curiosaurus deck. That's my preferred archetype of Keyforge. I love that kind of thing. I think that it's going to be there's potential for it to be knocked off its perch by stuff like Poltergeists, by the Gateway and the Keys, that kind of thing, with the Control of the Weeks as well. But I've got to pull for the Curiosaurus deck and hope it's going to win through.
Yep. Ultimately, though, I think the Triple Control of the Week is going to get him. I think it will disrupt. I think the Poltergeist is going to deal with the Curiosaurus, and then I think it's going to bring it home by just completely messing with Mahaxx's game.
Okay, well, we shall see as you join us in the game portion. See you in a minute.
Alrighty.
Hi there, and welcome to the game portion of the episode. On the top of the screen, we have Mahaxx playing It's a Bad Guy, says Robinson. And on the bottom of the screen, we have Kiivii playing Odin L'Aggressivo.
Odin E, the aggressive.
Mm.
It's very exciting times.
And a couple of interesting opening hands here, actually. I think if you're Mahaxx, I'd be tempted to keep that. Maybe just put down that Serum. Turn 1, you've got a nice Saurian turn the turn after.
Yeah, the problem is I think the Brachus is too early. It's tempting with the Amphora as well, but you kind of want to be able to drop that Brachus when you can hit it with like an ancient power or some big capture. And I think it'll die too early.
That's very true. That's very true.
I think Kiivii will keep that because I think you've got 2 disc creatures to control the week, so you can usually get a decent control of the week or have a decent shot at turn 1 because people frequently will play a 1-card turn 1 if they've got one other thing in their hand.
Yeah,
then you've got the help from yourself.
Especially if they don't play a creature. I think like sometimes you'll play a creature so you can reap with it on that turn, and that's the thing. But if you like, if Mahaxx did keep this hand and played, say, the Mutagenic Serum, you'd be like, okay, pretty sure they're not playing. Would they want to play Logos next? So you're happy to play that Control of the Week then.
Yeah. They are both thinking about it. Is this video running?
It is indeed running, yes.
Good. So they're both taking a while to consider it because there's ups and downs in both hands, I think.
Like a roller coaster.
A roller coaster indeed.
And we do see a mulligan from Mahaxx.
And we're 2-2-2.
I'd say put a better hand though. With the Q-Max and the Lethalogica, you'd be happy that also with a nice, say, putting the Essence Scale down early. But we have seen Kiivii keep that hand.
And this is what I mean about Control of the Week, right? Because you could see a turn 1 where they drop the Essence Scale because it's a useful artifact you want early, and they just get Control of the Week into Dis. And then they have Soul Fiddle and one other discard, which they probably don't want to be playing. That's just a solid guess, and I think that's what we're going to see.
Yeah, we do see the Essence Scale, and it's also 2 Ember, nothing to sniff at all.
Didn't think they'd start with a Soul Fiddle, seemed unlikely.
And I think here, Mahaxx, he's probably going to get Control of the Week, but if time to get Control of the Weeks, this is pretty perfect. 2/2 hand, you're not going to be mad about playing any of those houses here.
I'd maybe want to go Logos, but I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you want to go Logos, but you wouldn't kick Dis out of bed. And Saurian, you'd be a bit miffed about, but they are going to be playing Dis here.
Yeah, question whether you Essence Scale the Fiend to steal one, but maybe not.
No, I mean, it can get hit by the Stealer of Souls, but you're just losing, or you're just giving your opponent 1 Ember, and you'd probably rather have that creature down to potentially reap on your turn or do other things. I don't think it's too massive a concern. Especially with Kiivii only playing 3 discards last turn, you think, it's unlikely.
Maybe not Dis again.
Exactly. Mahaxx doing a bit of a consider here. Just thinking, I assume going to play that Sacrifiend shortly. But maybe, as you say, considering whether to hit it with the Essence Scale or not.
Yeah. Not one of the better Fiends. You're kind of looking at it, wishing it was a Dino Fiend.
I'd say it's all right. It's fine. Yeah, you probably prefer it to be like a Dino Fiend or one of the Logos or Star Alliance ones that actually has an effect.
But is 4 power 2 armor and has destroyed steel ones kind of harder than you want it to be to kill.
True, but it also means that the opponent has to like commit resource into destroying it, and then when they do, it's still bad. Like it's still a decent card just to have on the board.
I mean, it's hard to complain about any of the Fiends really. Like they're overall pretty strong and probably the best set.
the general consensus is that the fiends are the best kind of like spliced mutants, I'll call them.
I
And
like that. I do like that.
I know it's another thing of like Dis in mass mutation just feeling like they just got everything slightly better than everyone else. Like destroyed steal one, it feels like if it had been, destroyed gain one, fine. If it had been destroyed your opponent loses one, fine. But steal one just feels like that cut above
Yeah.
everything else.
Compare that to the Sanctum one, where it's just bigger and has armor.
Yeah, exactly.
Solid Logos turn from Kiivii here.
Compare it to Shadows, where it's like smaller, just has elusive, or
Yes,
Untamed, where it's skirmish. Like these are effects that are useful, but nothing to write
and
home about.
already that help from Future Self, shuffling back in those control the weaks as well as the sloppy
Indeed,
lab work, making
in
yourself a little bit more Infernus proof as well.
always have to be Infernus proof.
It does help.
I'm just discarded the Dextry as well there.
A lot of players do that. I think it's okay,
Yeah, I think
but
this early in
just
the
didn't fancy
game,
it. Yeah,
maybe
you
understandable.
probably
You don't want to be
not a big
keeping
fan.
drawing that for the next kind of however
All
long.
right, so we're gonna get some Logos action happening. Double QMax and a
Mm-hmm.
lethal logic. That is an enhanced QMax as well with
Yeah.
a capture, which in the Curiosaurus deck that Mahaxx is playing is obviously going to be great.
Now, do you hold the FS in principle here?
I think you do. I think it's quite early on in the game. You've got some speed, but not
Mm.
a crazy amount. So I think you hold on to it for longer.
Yeah, and I think especially with like those two QMEX archived, with the standardized testing there, you can get a good draw on your next Logos turn, and yeah, I think I'd agree with that. That holding the principle's worth.
Yeah. So if Kiivii goes to check here, you can then it's like, well, you're on 3, they're on 6. I can hit the principal, draw 2 more Logos cards plus any other that I've drawn.
Yeah, and just setting up for potentially a very nice Sanctum Saurian turn.
You just always want to be Sanctum. Always want it to be Sanctum, don't
Because
you?
they're the
No
best
matter how.
house, calendar. They're just the best house, and I'll never disagree with that. And yeah, I think this is what Mahaxx is probably thinking about here: is that whether to get rid of that person principle or not, and decides to keep. So we're gonna see keep it straight into Dis. No messing around. Didn't even take his hat off, and he's putting down some dust imps, some pit demons, and a key to Dis, and just doing a hot reap with the succubus.
Pretty good turn.
Yeah,
We
gonna
have
be
a
happy with that.
potentially pretty big Saurian response.
Mm-hmm.
But again, the Bracca's just not quite when you want it.
True, but I
You know
think
when
at
you
this point you're just gonna be like, look, just you have to deal with this Brachus, and
yeah.
realistically, that means you're going to have to either take a dis turn when you've already taken quite a few dis turns, or you're going to have to key to dis your whole board, or you're going to have to like run your Escatera in. We haven't seen a lot of
Yeah.
shadows yet, so shadows unlikely to be able to kill it. It's just forcing you not to sit that shadows turn that you may want to.
I just wouldn't necessarily mind Keita dissing my board at this point. You've got the Dust Imp. You can use your creatures beforehand. If you get rid of a Brachus, a Citizen Strix, and get all the Ember on them as well.
True, I know. I think you'd not be like mad about it, but you'd not be thrilled. Like Succubus is a really good card to affect them. Pit
Yeah, the
Demon's
Succubus is
useful.
pretty good.
You'd probably want to be able to like put Time Traveler back in your deck, especially having what you use to help him future self.
Yeah, you think about it though.
You
And
know,
here's the spoils of battle.
yeah, I think the thing that's happening here is that Mahaxx is just forcing the issue. He's saying you need to clear this board with that key
Yeah,
to this.
I am at check.
If you don't, I'm gonna be using Dark Centurion next turn and making things real not great for you.
Yeah, and you've got to assume when he takes that out immediately is that Brachus is well, towards the top of the insta kill list.
Yeah, if he doesn't use key to this, I think definitely it'll be a Logos turn to womp it with the Escatera and then play a couple of Logos cards.
Yeah, drop the Nobu
Although
Archaeologist.
with the miasma is in shadows though, so wouldn't be able to use the ember on the creatures at the moment. Maybe
Yes, but
he'll risk it and go for that shadows. I personally wouldn't. I think it's a bit too much, but I could definitely see that being a choice you'd make.
I would feel that a bit risky as well, just because there's things in the deck that will ward the Brachus. There's things like Ludos and the Curiosaurus that will make it much harder if you get that Ember back.
Hmm.
Um,
I think
And
the
if you don't
only
know what,
it's true. I think the thing you'd maybe thinking is that you've had Succubus down on the field for a couple of turns now. You've been restricting Mahaxx's hand. You think maybe he doesn't have the turn he needs here, and I can risk the and then still going to be able to clear the board next turn. It's
yeah, you have that flexibility with the key to this and a gateway in hand as well to
we are going to see
potentially
the shadows
unward
here, yeah.
everything.
And
Bold
with the pawn
move from
sacrifice, I think it is a
Kiivii.
lot stronger actually. To sacrificing the dodger, interestingly, I suppose not great targets to fight at the moment, so I can understand that.
Does get rid of the citizen's tricks and
And
another
a
miasma.
miasma, yeah. And with a poison wave too, so he's sitting pretty here. He can very comfortably wait around and just kind of keep Mahaxx at arm's length.
Does ding 3 damage on the Brachus, uh, just so we can then knock it off pretty easily.
Although clever here by interesting here for wait actually yeah. So the thing with this is though that Mahaxx is in this situation where Kiivii can't actually clear the board at the moment because if he does, that Sacrifice is going to steal one, and Mahaxx is gonna forge anyway.
Indeed he is. And there's the Curiosaurus and draws into the Ludo.
Yeah.
So all of the Ember
And
protection on that
Citizen
board.
Tricks always very good with the Curiosaurus.
Cheeky steal.
Mm-hmm.
You can reap with Brachus and then use the Centurion to ward it.
So we may have seen this Shadow Stone from Kiivii backfire here with the Ludos and the Saurus and the Curia coming down. Now this board clear is going to be a lot less effective if he does use it. He's not going to be getting any of that Ember back, and quite a bit of it is going to be going on that Pit Demon and eventually Mahaxx's pool. This may have been a bit of an overextension by Kiivii.
Well, it'll be interesting because if he clears the board, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not the Curiosaurus guy, but then Kiivii will be able to choose between the Ludo Destroy trigger and the Curiosaurus Destroy trigger, right?
Yes, so he could just say none of the embers coming on my creatures is all just going to the common supply. The only trouble with that is obviously that he doesn't get any of that ember, which I doubt he's going to be super chuffed up. You might see him go dis though, just fight the Pit Demon into Ludo first.
That's wrinkling my it is wrinkling my brain as to whether that's the right move or not. Whether you will get more out of it if you just dump it with the Ludo, or whether you can get enough back if you play the Curiosaurus stuff correctly.
So the big problem you have is that you have creatures of different power. So say if you only had Noddy the Thief, Time Traveler, and Dust Imp on the field, you could choose to put Ember on each creature because they're the same power. However, at the moment, if Pit Demon dies, Escatera is higher powered than everything. If Escatera dies, Succubus is higher powered than everything. So you've always got one creature that is higher powered than the rest of it. All the Ember is going to go on to. You can't split it up.
So you probably can't take advantage of your opponent's Curiosaurus.
I don't think so. I think you'd be looking to use the Ludo effect as much as possible here.
Probably so. Got to assume that the full board wipe now has to come either through the gateway and some you can't, because that Brachus is on the board. You have to get rid of it.
Yeah,
you could fight twice.
Yeah, the other option is that you use the second miasma and the poison wave, and you can kill that Brachus if you fight it with the Noddy the Thief. Not ideal, not the best turn to take, but it's a possibility. The other option is you use the gateway and the key to dis, and still allows Mahaxx to forge. Again, not ideal. But you get some ember from the Dust Imp. You can reap and steal with the Pit Demon.
Don't necessarily need both board wipes, because you can just run the Dust Imp into the Brachus first.
Exactly. Yeah. That would be much better actually. Yeah, very true. Maybe you actually then just fight with, say, the Dust Imp, use the gateway to dis, keep that key to dis on the board to be used at your leisure, control the weak them into. I mean, I suppose Saurian might be the house, because you've seen a lot of Saurian come out already. I mean, we can see the hand, so of course I'm going to say Saurian to look clever, but...
Yeah. Well, then if they've said Saurian 2 turns in a row, and you're wiping all the Saurian off the board, it's like a reasonable shout.
And also, you've got the Essence Scale and Dis that they can do stuff with when things come into the board. Yeah. You've got 2 Q-Mechs in the archive that they can draw with logos, so...
and probably are having a look at the Ember control because you're going to be one that's going to check with that Ember possibly.
Yeah,
Instead of thinking about what I use. Kiivii giving us a in the chat.
there is also an argument for Logos, I would say, as well. You could fight with the Escatera into the Brachus. You can put the Time Traveler back in the deck and get that Archaeologist and that
yeah, but then you haven't
artifact down.
I suppose if you key to Dis.
Yeah, you're using the key to Dis there.
Yeah, perhaps.
I think this is why it's difficult and why Kiivii is taking a bit of time, because I think all three options have their merits. It's not like there's an obvious choice here.
I assume they're mathing it out as to what can get them the most Ember, or potentially the best Ember swing compared to their opponent. We are going to see a Dis call here.
Yep. So, and we do see the control of the week into the Saurian as predicted.
So you've got to assume a full wipe is coming.
Indeed. We are going to see a steal from the Sacrofiends, though. That destroyed effect is going to trigger. We can see, yep, the Pit Demon used to steal, the Dust Imp, as you said, to fight the Brachus. And, yeah, we saw Reap with the Succubus. Now we're going to see the Gateway. So, yep, just removing all the Ember.
Yep. If you think Kiivii could have got more Ember by exploiting the Curiosaurus, get in the comments. Let us know, because I can't maths it out.
So I think the only way I have to figure out, I think what you actually could have, does this work? Yeah, I think what you could have done was moved an Ember onto the Pit Demon and then use the Pit Demon's effect to move an Ember onto the Ludo. And that you could have like bounced or back onto the Dark Centurion. Yeah. That would have worked, I think.
And Mahaxx complementing Kiivii's turn there with the full wipe, and
and we see two Control the Weeks in hand here. Kiivii knows that Mahaxx doesn't have much in the way of Saurians in hand because we haven't seen any play here.
He skipped a full turn, just full turn skip. We've had 6 turns so far from Mahaxx and Kiivii, and Mahaxx did nothing for one of them.
Yeah, and I think he might be doing nothing for the next couple as well. If Kiivii spots,
it certainly will be limited.
Oh no, it's Mahaxx's turn. Sorry, I missed Kiivii's turn. It was that rapid. So Mahaxx will be having a turn here. And I think Logos seems the natural one. Get this QMX out, do a bit of drawing. Opposition research to limit what Kiivii can do on his turn.
Yep, maybe. I'd be tempted by a Gateway, because Nova Archaeologist and Mother are both pretty high value because you don't want him archiving those Control of the Weeks.
That's very true.
And the card draw is pretty big.
Yeah, you use Spectral Tunneler to allow further card draw as well in that and the board. So very true.
Whether you want those 3 chains, it's also because your Logos hand is looking pretty meh right now, even with the 2 QMX.
Yeah, but the QMX can draw you into something better, I think is the thing.
Potentially true, yes.
You know, you're playing 5 cards out of Logos. You're drawing 2 cards. You know more about what your next turn's going to be. I think Logos is the play.
You hope that maybe they put some more stuff on the board for you to wipe off.
So I think further questions of whether you keep keeping the effervescent principle here.
I think yes. I think the same logic holds true. That you're both on 1 Ember. It's such a big piece of Ember control. You don't want to it.
You see the Ludo, probably not thrilled to see that right
now. Does
now.
Draw into a bot, so it does have a little bit extra to put on the board.
Indeed, it does, yeah. But I suppose the question is, like, overcommitting to the board is dangerous, though, with that Key to Distal on the board, where apparently, like, Kiivii's not going to be really want to kill his Mother and Nova Archaeologist, but I'm pretty sure that at a push, if you're putting too much on the board, he will. Probably not going to use it just for the 2 QMX and the Sacroball, though, I would think.
Probably not. It's going to whack an Academy training on something.
And no Reaps are going to be allowed for Kiivii on his next turn.
Doesn't stop the Nova Archaeologist, though.
He does not.
Could also fight 2 QMX and then play that Tessania.
He could. I think unlikely. He only gets 1 card out of hand. It's not super great. I think I'd maybe still be tempted by the Dis turn. You know, speculate a bit, see what you can do with Control the Weak. But the Charette's not going. I don't. This is a difficult turn. If I was Kiwi, I'd be really mulling this over. I think none of these options are great.
Yeah, what's annoying is it's the opposition research, right? I think without that, you go Logos, you reap, draw a card, archive
Yeah,
something,
100%. Yeah.
but it just limits that. Opposition research is sort of I wouldn't say underrated, but you don't hear it talked about much in terms of how high value I think it is as a card.
Yeah.
It's not the best in this matchup, but obviously two in a mass mutation deck, and you could really be restricting your opponents. I've seen a lot of like big, wide, expansive board decks that are trying to reap out to win. Um, some of them being played by other Hamburg Atlanteans in
Mhm.
the Hamburg Atlantean Civil War, and
Yeah.
they can really be useful. But
It's
this
a
is
card.
KOTE.
It's a card that I like, and I think is a good card. But I think it's one of those cards that kind of makes mass mutation logos annoying because it's another card that just allows logos to kind of do a bit of everything. Like this is a card that used to be in Shadows as like Inky Glue, basically, and
And
it's
there's
now in Logos better because it also has an enhancement. And you're like, why is Logos doing this? This isn't really Logos' thing. It just seems like
Logos was never hugely disruptive.
no, and it kind of adds to this whole thing of Logos just kind of having all the cards, and that's kind of why Mass Mutation Logos especially has been so good, is because you very rarely get a bad Mass Mutation Logos because they can do a bit of everything.
Yeah. He's
Now,
going to play a Control the Weak.
yeah, we're going to see Saurian.
Saurian again.
Mm-hmm. And
That's reasonable. I think you don't want them to use the Logos creatures on the board, but
see,
you also don't want them to say disc because they haven't said it in a while, so they probably have more or better discards.
which they do indeed. We can see the Gateway, the Mindfire, and the Bravel is some nice stuff down there.
Yeah, because you could, if they were allowed to pick what house they want, i.e., play Keyforge, you could drop the Brabble, Mindfire, Essence Scaler, Cumex, and Reap with Sacrobat. It would have been a great turn, but no, instead, we're going to see two creatures, and that's it.
So I think it's an interesting decision. So I think we're going to see Mahaxx play these two Saurian creatures down. It's an interesting decision what Kiivii does next turn because you've got the 4 Shadows cards, but I don't think any of them are that useful right
Yeah, it's just a bit
now.
meh.
You maybe might see the Logos, archive something with Novu, maybe that Control the Weak, maybe something else. Reap with the Mother using a Spectral Tunneler. And then I'd
Draw
be
something.
tempted to key to Dis and hit those Cumex with the Desania.
I think so. You've got
now
to
is the
with the
time.
Desania, yeah, with the Desania in hand, you've got to be thinking, I want to get those Q-Mags
Hmm.
because it's 2 Ember and it gets rid of a very annoying thing for my opponent.
Yeah. And they've got some nice things on the board right now. That Academy Training Sacrobot, that Ludo, that Constant Primus. All of these can be really annoying.
This now has reached the point where it's like Mahaxx's board is better than mine, so I might keep to this.
Yeah.
We are going to see a Logos turn.
And
Ooh, a phase
shift.
shift.
Nice. So I think
Okay.
Control
Poison
the
Wave?
Weak. Sorry?
Ooh. I said Poison Wave because I thought you could wipe the Q-Max more easily without the key to this.
Yeah,
But
but
the
I think
Control the Weak is also devastating.
I think you'd much rather hit the Ludo and the Sacrobot and the Console Primus in addition is more the thing.
Yeah. Oh, but hey, why not both?
Yeah. And then key to this coming in
So
hot.
straight swap with the Ember with Curiosaurus because there's 1 on each of them.
Mm-hmm.
He's archived another Control the Weak with the Newful Archaeologist, and we're just gonna see a full turn skip from Mahaxx again.
Indeed. And I'm going
And
to see
there's
the
the Desania.
Desania, yeah. So Kiivii going to be on their second key here because Mahaxx can't do anything to stop them. And
because Control the Weak just kind of stops you from playing Keyforge.
Does a little bit, yeah.
A little bit.
Who said that? I know someone says that a lot. I can't think who.
It's me. Spoilers.
Oh, is it? Okay.
For those of you detecting some residual salt, I hate Control the Weak, and
He never shuts up about it. Never shuts up about it at all.
It's true. It's pretty high up on my list of things.
Every other day, it's just like, you know what I really hate? Control. Well, no, it kind of alternates between one day it'll be he hates Control the Weak, the next day it'll be an Infernus. Then on Sundays he hates both, so it's all good.
Hey, Dark Tidings, real hype.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, we're all hyped Dark Tidings, fish people.
So Mahaxx didn't play Keyforge, and Kiivii had just played out that Shadows turn, stole a couple, played a Miasma, played a Key of Darkness, disappointingly failing to fire.
God, a Key of Darkness firing all the time, that's very rare.
I know it's usually just a guaranteed key.
Okay, so Mahaxx here, I think, yeah, we are seeing Dis come out. Gonna maybe fish for something with that Mind Find. Here's a Dust Imp. No stealing, but I think happy to see that go. Dust Imp, a very good card.
Yeah,
Robbing
but
of 2 Ember.
I think if you're Kiivii, you're pretty happy.
Yeah, Kiivii, you already have 2, like, Scrambler Storm, definitely, I think you wouldn't have wanted to see. A Poltergeist, definitely wouldn't want to see go, but, I think Max, you're not going to be too disappointed. That's a decent one. Discards the Gateway. I suppose, yeah, just not worth it just to get rid of one Dysania.
You can also then hit another card from his hand with the Inspector if you hit it with the Essence Scale to reduce them to a 4-card hand.
Yeah. And then, interesting here as well, even if you could have reaped the Dysania there, you probably wouldn't want to because that Silent Dagger would have killed either Inspector or Brabble, both of which have some gnarly effects.
But still, you're enraged anyway.
Yeah, why not?
Consider it enraged. Hits the
Furious.
Poltergeist. Ooh, that's quite big in this Curiosaurus matchup.
Yeah.
That Curiosaurus is, I think, safe now.
Yeah, I mean, Essence Scale also could have been a useful one to hit, especially if you still have that Dust Imp. That could have been a very powerful turn.
Quite a few good artifacts.
And just playing out the Logos. And then, gonna give...
Goes to check.
Can't reap with Dysania because of the... because he's real cross. But just gonna go to check. Mahaxx can pull it back with the Effervescent Principle, but I think it's definitely on the ropes here.
Yeah, especially as you know that Kiivii has a control the week in the archives.
Yes.
So you just know that there's probably at some point soon going to be a turn when they go to check and play it.
Yeah, and I mean, I think like it's going to be after this Effervescent Principle plays, they're just going to get to check, lock them into Logos and be like, well, you can't do anything because you're only Ember Control in Logos' Effervescent Principle.
Possibly so. He's going to think carefully.
He's going to consider. He's going to go Logos.
That is his only option at this point, as far as I can see.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, because the Brabble will only take away 1. And Kiivii reminding him of Scrambler Store. Oh, no. No. The Scrambler Store. We can't even play the Effervescent Principle. That's game, I think.
We are not very with it today, apparently.
Oh, his hand is completely full of actions, so that is,
That is,
That is completely game.
That is fully game. I'm glad we noticed that when they did, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Kiivii very generously saying you can take back House Choice, but it has some
like,
for Mahaxx.
It's gonna make a difference.
No, I mean I suppose even if you chose Dish and you could hit the Brabble, then
well that's it.
That's a big old GG.
And the controlly disruptive power of KOTE crushes this quite good mass mutation deck.
Yeah.
Because you've got to remember, in an 11-turn, Mahaxx played 10 turns, and 2 of them, there was a full turn skip. 2 other of them, he played 1 or 2 cards, and this turn he couldn't play actions.
Yep.
So it just gets pretty much shut out of the game.
Indeed, and I think it's always a difficulty playing against like KOTE, especially with a control the weak deck, is that you sometimes will, especially like, again, it's the kind of thing where we said this in other videos too, these players know each other, they know each other's decks, they know each other's play styles, which means that when you're playing that control of the week, it's much easier to know exactly when to play it and what to play it on and how to really punish your opponent with those kind of effects.
Yeah, not to take it away from Kiivii, played it very well, and we saw a number of pretty cool plays in and around the control of the week, and getting those lockout turns.
Indeed we did.
And they advance into the top 4.
Indeed. Very good game by both. Well played by the Hamburg Atlanteans, and commiserations to the Hamburg Atlanteans as well.
Yes, it's good to see the Hamburg Atlanteans doing so well. Big fans of the Hamburg Atlanteans, but at the same time, a real shame for the Hamburg Atlanteans.
Yeah, you always hate to see a team with the quality of the Hamburg Atlanteans leaving the competition, and that's what we've seen today. F1.
Yes, but it is good that a team that as good as the Hamburg Atlanteans continues on to the next phase.
Excellent. Always excellent to see. We'd be very excited to see the Hamburg Atlanteans in the final.
We should probably stop this bit because this could go on forever.
It could. We've been in an endless circle of jerking. Okay. Well, thank you very much for listening. I have been David, Baron von Fabulous, Lark.
And I've been Callum, the good Dr. Young.
We've been Scrooge Commentaries. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.